ART bill, Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill of 2014, where it bans foreigners from taking recourse to surrogacy. This is actually, according to me, quite in contradiction with the Juvenile Justice Act of 2015. The reason being this, that under the new Juvenile Justice Act, unlike the earlier one, inter-country adoption is permissible. And inter-country adoption is permissible not only by, obviously when it's inter-country, by foreigners. And not only by foreign married couples, but also by single parent who wishes to adopt a child. Now, for adoption there are checks and balances, and some of you who I assume are people who have acquainted themselves with some areas know that in adoption, in inter-country adoption, the broad checks and balances are that you get a report from the home country where the child is to be taken. It's called a home study report. That authority then routes a request to CARA over here, which is an authority in India. Then CARA peruses that, then writes back to the applicant and gives the child. And there is a system where the call them inspectors or invigilators, they visit the homes of the parents, take the child abroad, see how they are looked after, etc., etc. Now, if that can be done in a case of adoption, I don't see problem in some kind of a mechanism, a regulatory mechanism, not being put in a surrogacy situation. So therefore, to say that we will not do it, according to me, is actually quite inconsistent with the prevailing view as to how children are handed over to parents. I mean, the natural way we know that there is the adoption way, and then there is the surrogacy way. So therefore, the prevailing view of a large section of people is that you must have surrogacy, but with checks and balances. Therefore, my concern really is this, that when you have agreements, these agreements should have a statutory framework, i.e., you must have an agreement, the bill or the act, whenever it comes into play, should provide for certain checks and balances, which would protect the interest not only of the surrogate, but also of that little child who is in the womb of the mother. The broad checks and balances, lots of them, if you go through the 2014 ART bill, are already there. But what comes to mind is simply this, when you look at a surrogacy situation. Firstly, there should be an agreement which should have certain standard clauses, because surrogate mothers sometimes don't have the wherewithal to engage a lawyer, or if they engage a lawyer who can actually advise them properly because of various financial circumstances. But if it has certain standard clauses, or the statute provides that notwithstanding the fact that the agreement doesn't have these clauses will operate inter se parties, that will go a long way in protecting the interests of the surrogate mother. One of the problem areas in law is, which we are often faced with, is what is the legal right of a surrogate mother at the prenatal stage? Is she the legal parent of the child, or is the commissioning parent the legal parent of the child? Why is that important? There could be by right situations in which there could be an eruption of dispute between the commissioning parent and the surrogate. If there is a dispute, can the commissioning parent insist on continuation of pregnancy till it comes to full term? Or let me put it the other way, can the surrogate mother, who should have autonomy over her body, say at some stage, despite the fact that there is an agreement in place, that notwithstanding this agreement, this was executed in certain circumstances, I wish to terminate the pregnancy. That could create a huge amount of legal debate, and disputes could end up in court. There are no easy answers to such situations. Whether autonomy should override an agreement, the statute or the legislators should deal with these situations so that most of these situations are taken care of. The other terms that an agreement should have, according to me, these are some fundamental terms, is about compensation terms. Now, what happens here is, since these are private arrangements today and we don't have a legislative framework in place, someone may agree to provide surrogate services for, say, a sum of rupees 2 to 3 lakhs. Someone may take 10 lakhs. It all depends on the wherewithal and the bargaining power of the two parties. At the so Mr. Gogna in guidance means also 40 and 30,000 rupees.
75,000 in total compensation.
Correct. Now, it can't be that a surrogate who is rich and has the wherewithal or has the negotiation will get 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whereas the other who doesn't have will get only 40, 50,000 rupees. So the legislature should provide for a minimum compensation to be given to the surrogate. Now, the agreement should also thereafter provide, the legislation should also provide that the terms should be fair and equitable even vis-a-vis commissioning bills, because it can't be an exercise in extortion. At the end of the day, there has to be an amalgam and balance of these two very, very competing rights. The third aspect, according to me, is insurance. Insurance is something that should be compulsory and mandatory. If commercial parents wish to go in through a surrogacy, you should certainly be told insure not only the surrogate mother but also the child. The fourth and the most important thing is what happens if the child is when he's born, the girl child or the male child when he's born is mentally or physically disabled. The question often arises, and which is the problematic area, which is why the anti-surrogacy campaigners say that literally whose baby is it at the end of the day. We had a situation in Germany where a child born of an Indian surrogate, the German government decided not to allow them entry. That was not a case of disability, but I'm giving you another case where because of the ban in Germany to have children through surrogacy, that child was not allowed. Similarly, there was another case in Thailand. The child's name was Gami. It attained a lot of publicity, where again there was difficulty and the child was abandoned literally because the child was physically disabled. We had a case in our country, which is a reported Supreme Court case called Baby Yamada, Japanese couple. Well, when they commissioned the child, it was all hunky-dory between the commissioned parents. While the pregnancy was coming to term, the marital relationship between the couple, commissioning parents, disrupted. And ultimately, the Indian government didn't know what to do. And the matter went to the Supreme Court. It is only when the grandmother came to India that the dispute got resolved and the child was given to the grandmother. So these are areas which legislatures should anticipate and deal with. Often in our country what happens is that legislatures act post facto, and then we find some legislation with some bare bones being drafted and put into play, and then you have series and slews of discussions on television, learned authors and academics writing, and then there is some, after 10 years, an amendment which is again outdated, and etc. etc. So we have these problems. We have a chance today to actually bring into play a robust legislation which would deal with these kind of situations. Because the examples in this area are horrendous, because you need to protect children against malpractices like when you have surrogacy, you shouldn't have sex determination, because if you have someone may say, listen, I went in for surrogacy, I don't want a girl child. So protect children from infanticide, or you may not, some silly reason that I will not have this child because the appearance is not good enough. The Indians are obsessed with color, correct? So a young Punjabi couple may tomorrow say, listen, I don't want, or someone from Kashmir may say, I come from Kashmir by the way, may say that I don't want a child. You have all kinds of people, so children can't be abandoned. The state has to say that if such a situation arises where no one is willing to take care of the children, we will step in. That assurance the legislature has to give, because ultimately it is the best interest of the child which is at stake. I'll only conclude with one little WhatsApp that I got. I don't know whether some of you have seen that, which is very interesting. There was a couple in America. This is on the point of the best interest of the child. A couple in America, of course that was natural childbirth. The lady was a nurse with a pediatrics department or something in US, and she got pregnant, and it was discovered that she was suffering from a disease which is known as spina bifida, where the child is so inextricably connected with the womb that if you were to deliver the child would die. So this surgeon was known for these kind of surgeries. They were very artful surgery, very evidently, as I understood, extracted the womb and then made a little C-section where from where he could, the child was to perhaps emerge. And he suddenly had this child in the womb, sticking out his finger and catching hold, collapsing the surgeon's finger. So the photograph which came on the WhatsApp was a surgeon with this little bloke in the womb holding on to the surgeon's finger. So it is actually more about the child and to some great extent about the surrogate mother, which we need to look after. These are my thoughts.
The role of human rights organization and people like that, it's in support of the surrogate.
Correct. So we have some provisions which need to be debated in the new ART bills, because they seem to be under the impression that the surrogate mother can only be one who does not participate in the pregnancy, in the sense that her genetic material is not used. And I wonder why, because there could be situations where the surrogate may give part of the genetic material. They've confided to a person who doesn't give the genetic material. She basically acts as what is known in legal terminology as a petri dish. So, it is just a crucible where you put the genetic material and then it sort of, after fertilization, etc., it sort of forms into an embryo and then a child. So, these are my broad thoughts on surrogacy. We can carry this forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for giving your views in reference to the legal development of surrogacy. As he started from the ancient time and talks about the latest bill, and he very aptly highlighted the aspect of the issue of commercial surrogacy and the rights of the child. Of course, there are apprehensions that it can be misused there also, but he has given his view that the foreigners should not be flatly they cannot be banned from availing this facility of surrogacy. So, and he depicted different aspects of what should be the provisions in the new bill. Majority of the provisions which he has discussed, that is present in the present bill, but the amount of compensation, minimum amount is not mentioned, so it should be incorporated and more rights should be incorporated about the surrogate mothers. Thank you, sir. Now I invite Mr. Ripudaman to give a memento to Justice Shekdar. I invite Madam Bhavna to give a beautiful plan to Justice Shekdar.
हमें किसी ने स्पॉन्सर किया है ये प्लांट्स
Now I invite Professor Chadda, Department of Psychology, to give us the insight as far as the psychological aspect of this problem is concerned.
Good afternoon to all of you. Let me on the onset admit that I'm not a specialist in this area, surrogacy. Though I had a approximately 40-year teaching experience in psychology in Delhi University. But the other day I got the order from my friend Rajesh Gogna to be here and talk about psychological perspective of surrogacy. Because Rajesh is that near and dear, it's very difficult for me to say no to him. So I'm over here. I will try to do justice and scan the literature across, not only the literature, and also I thought when I'm going to speak with such an audience, I should have some empirical database also. So in that connection, last about a week back, I conducted two focus group discussions, which I will explain what came out. I cannot show though I brought the PPT, prepared the PPT for that, but I cannot show the recording because I have not taken the consent from them. So the first issue came, why there is a need for surrogacy. That's most important to my mind. Because there is a rising infertility among the women population over the years. If it's not there, then there is no need for surrogacy at all. And then it's empirically has been seen across the globe. There are some factors which lead to the infertility among people. The very prominent factor which came into light these days, that's a work-life balance. In the one cause, our living conditions, the eating habits, and the long hours. In fact, I fail to understand why we call okay, here is a working woman, here is a housewife. I think it's not how she's also a working woman. In fact, the so-called working woman, she's doing a double job. I can relate with myself, I told my wife number of times, I don't know how to manage these two kids for mine. I can manage my student across from 8 in the morning up to 9 in the PM, never feel tired. But handling these two kids for 5 minutes is a hell of the job, I don't know how to do it. That's a fact. I think this is not my feeling, this is the feeling of the many of us. No, justice narrated altruistic surrogacy. There are two kinds basically. The friend, Dr. Friend, the first speaker, he talked about commercial surrogacy. There are two perspectives to that. Commercial, obviously, commercial from the angle of a doctor also, from the angle of a poor woman also. Not commercial from an angle of a family which went to, not from a family or the woman who have sufficient number of resources. The altruistic surrogacy, basically, women love to help the woman, inclined to help the woman. Then it's a different notion and different psychological parameters for that. There is a socio-political angle to this surrogacy also. You may be aware, there are 4 countries in the world where immigration is open. You can go settle and migrate. 2 or 3 are much easier. That's New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and US. US is very difficult. I will narrate the case of a New Zealand. In New Zealand, immigration is open. No, why? There is a demand of the people, and because in New Zealand there are 2 communities will live. One is called Pakia, other is called Maori. Maori are the original inhabitants of New Zealand. Pakias are the European people who have migrated to New Zealand. And the fertility rate of the Pakia woman, because I was there, I worked in Auckland University of Technology at Auckland, so we have some data over there. On an average, in the Pakia woman, the fertility is 0.73 per woman. And for the Maori, it's 5.43. Means on an average, a Maori woman delivered 5 to 7 children, 5 to 6 children. A Pakia, 1 or none. And henceforth, the population of Maori is increasing, and population of the Pakia is going down. To balance it out, it's a ruling population over there, the Pakias. The Pakia, white color people, white skin people. That is the socio-political region. They want people from the South Asian countries, whether it's India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, migrating a large number over there to counterbalance the dominance which is going to happen with the usually Maori population. And same is largely true with Australia also. And if you see the statistics data, the surrogate women, they belong to Indian population from India. And who are the people? Who are the people coming? They are largely coming from the European country or New Zealand, Australia. Out of the 55,000, an average estimated in a year, they are roughly about 20,000, they belong to these countries. They are the people who are coming over here because women are available over for them. Easily they are ready to rent their home. It's easy to, and not only that, there are other reasons also behind it. That is known to be, the Indian women are known to be submissive. They are known to be submissive by nature. It's our family system like this. And alcohol free and smoke free. They don't smoke. Largely, women don't smoke. And smoking mothers, alcoholic mother, when they deliver a surrogate mother or any mother deliver a child, there is an implication on the child on that. Here, they are getting safe from that kind of implications. That's the important issue which we need to understand. Why there is a attraction. Then there are few issues which I have listed, and then I will pick up one by one and largely will try to talk on the psychological issues. The issues which are related with the marginalized set of women, the women which are easily available to sell their or rent their womb, and also to donate their egg also. First is, in commercialization is need for money. We are poor, money is required. So it's easy way to get, as I was watching, when I came in the break, a video was shown, the woman saying first child I got 3 lakhs, second child got 87,000 or something. That's an example, Then legal rights. You are the legal